I'm gonna be making a person out of metal.
And making a metal person I did. I started off with the lower legs because they were the easiest to make. I took a spring from a BMW that you can see here and used that as a thigh muscle for, well, the thighs. After that I went ahead and grabbed just a whole buttload of metals and just started working on the entire leg, which kind of worked out pretty good, I think. And sorry for the bad time lapse. I used a hammer a lot and the standard that I used for my telephone kind of vibrated out of control. After the legs were completed, I placed them on a little stool, as you can see, to kind of find the best position, and I think this one took the cake. So I secured everything together, as you can see here, and used all types of metals, little rings, little plates, everything. And afterwards I decided to work on the back side, or the bottom side. So at this point I was kind of winging the entire structure of Stacy, so I decided here to make a frame for the upper portion to get all of the proportions right. And because Stacy's gonna weigh a lot, it's detachable, which is incredible. So this helps with transport and all the other stuff that's gonna happen with Stacy. So currently I'm using some sheet metal to determine the curve of Stacy's butt, basically. And I filmed this the wrong way. As you can see, the camera is pointing to the front where it actually should be pointing to the back, like this. And now I'm just using all types of tiny metals to fill in the large gaps of the metal frame, I guess, that I just made. At this point a piece of metal fell into Stacy and I had a bit of a trouble getting it out, but eventually with a lot of effort it worked out. Look at that ass! So at this point I wasn't satisfied with the thickness of Stacy's upper leg that you can see right there. So I beefed it up a bit and I made the transition towards the hips a bit better, and I also decided to start working on her back. I used some curved tubes and a fender from an old motorcycle. So I got some electrical tubing that is apparently made out of metal, and I used that for the ribs, as you can see here. And then I just used more ribs and more pieces on the back, and Stacy is starting to look pretty good. So now let's focus on the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are going to be a bit of work, but I'm going to just be quiet and let you experience it. So now with all of the nuts, bolts and pieces in place, Stacy can finally get to the next stage, which is so exciting. So Stacy still needs to have a few things fixed. Her arms, her chest, her head and her neck. Now, before I can do anything, I want to make her head first because her arm is going to lean against her head. Then I can make the arms, then I can make the chest, then all of the other bits and pieces all around. Right? Cool. So making Stacy costs a lot of weird materials, and my aunt, who is a nurse, gifted me a bunch of weird stuff, like a cast clipper and one of those bone punchers. I don't know the correct terms, but I'm going to be using them all in Stacy. It's going to be great. So here I started by making the face. I started with the lips, as you can see, and you can also see that I have an example over there. It's a hard plastic face, so now I'm going to be working on the chin area and eventually build up from there. But I think it's time for some nice relaxing music. So as you can see, I did some off-camera work on Stacy, and that's purely because her cheeks aren't that, interesting. But hey, yeah, what? Let's see. So here I took one of those weird instruments, the cast clipper I believe, and I'm gonna use the upper portion of the handle. I took a piece of sheet steel and bended it. This is gonna make the eyelids, because we're making the eyes now. Isn't that exciting? Here I took an old wood saw and I decided to use the teeth portion of it, this part, for the eyelashes. Now because this steel is hardened, I couldn't really bend it, so I welded it and then heated it up and bent it that way, so it was a forged bend, kind of. I don't know. Okay, so Stacy's coming along pretty well. However, I forgot to film a thing again, so now the eyes are attached to the face, and I'm not quite sure about the eyes just yet, but it looks okay. I'm just not quite sure, but I think once I'm at the eyebrows, the whole expression comes together and it becomes more of a face and less of a goofy, weird thing. You can also see Stacy is looking to the side because she's going to be positioned here, the face then, and it's going to look towards this hand over here. So it's going to be slightly angled, and I'm probably thinking about the eyebrows, that I'm going to be doing a raised eyebrow look, because that's fun. But yeah, pretty good progress. Yeah, she's coming along pretty swell.
Yeah. I'm so happy with this. It looks cool, right? It's fantastic. However, one of the things that, if you're building along at home, I recommend you use one of these, just as an example, because I could not make the face just out of the top of my head, because it's a human face. So I had this as a reference, which was incredibly helpful. And now, oh, it looks so good. God, yeah. Okay, so I kind of started working on Stacy's arms, as you can see, and I forgot to film it, so oops, but it's looking pretty good, looking pretty tight. I've also got some old welding caps for the welder. I don't know what this part of the welder. I've got a few of those, so I think I'm gonna make the fingers out of those. The first plan that I had was to make them realistic, just like Stacy's face. However, that takes a whole lot of time and effort, and they're just fingers, and I think it's also pretty cool just to have the face just hyper realistic and all of the rest kind of rough and edgy. Beefy arms, beefy shoulders, nice, solid. However, after I'm done with the arms, I think that's in like 2 hours or something, then I'm kind of happy with them. I'm gonna focus on the hair because it's that time. And I also have a whole bunch of wire, or welding wire. I don't know the correct term, but whatever. So I'm gonna decide within the 2 hours what type of hairdo she's gonna get, because she's not gonna have my haircut, that's for sure. But yeah, who knows? But it's looking pretty sick. Okay, so Stacy is becoming more and more human every day, as you can see by the arms now. Very, very nice. And I finally decided what type of hairdo she's gonna get. And I don't actually know the term of this haircut, but it's gonna be this. So you can see it's a ponytail with a bit of a arching curve on either side. You get the idea, right? So imagine this and then on her. Because Stacy's looking kind of bored, and I didn't want to do a haircut that requires a lot of attention in the mirror. So it's going to be a ponytail just because it's easy for her. She's bored, she's going to look at her phone, so it's going to be fun. All right. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so this is currently the hair of Stacy, and you might be thinking, Ludo, that looks absolutely terrible. Now, just keep in mind, right, this is only the back portion of it. The rest is still coming, so don't worry. It's gonna look good, I hope, I think. Probably.
But before I could continue the hair, I had to make the ears, as you can see here. I took a bit of sheet steel and cut it into an appropriate ear size or shape. And then I took some massive solid pieces of steel, bent it around it, and ground everything up. And if we spin the ear really fast, then all of a sudden it's nice, smooth, and ear shaped. And that's how you make a metal ear. At this point, I thought Stacy's hands looked a bit too skeletal, or her fingers. So I tried welding it to thicken them up a bit, but that just made them red hot and didn't have the result that I wanted, so back to the drawing board. So after Stacy's fingers cooled down a bit, I decided to thicken them up in a different way. So I was going to try to thicken them up using some bolts, as you can see here. But eventually that really did not pan out. As you can see, they're still thin, and I don't really like the whole idea of such a robust and shitty finger. So we're going back to the first idea. As you can see here, this was the first finger, and this is the current new finger, and it even has a nail on it. Yeah! And the result looks 10 times better. Look at that. That looks so good. I also decided to keep the thumb because I kind of like that. And on to the next hand. And with the final hand in place, you can really see where Stacy's going for. I also kept the thumb the same as the other hand because, you know, symmetry. And now with the hands and arms complete, it's time for the chest area. And for some weird, odd, bizarre reason, I own 2 cannonballs. However, they are the perfect curve and dimensions for Stacy's breasts. So I used them as guidelines, as you can see here, and welded thin rings and coins and everything that I could find onto them to get that shape, because the backside of Stacy I made just purely by hand. However, I want the chest to be somewhat symmetrical, and this was the perfect way to do it. And with that, the first breast of Stacy is done. And it didn't actually take that long. It just was a bit of a weird process making such an organic shape. Anyway, fun story. I went to a carnival with my family recently and picked up a few of these beautiful coins from one of those bulldozer machines. And on the back of these coins, it says no cash value. So I think these coins are beautiful for the other boob from Stacy that you can see right here. And now it's time to actually place these beautiful breasts on Stacy. However, there's one tiny issue, because for the entire build of Stacy I used my body as proportions. However, there's a certain part that I'm lacking, which took actually a very long time to determine where the correct position was on Stacy, which I did not think I had that much trouble with, but apparently I did. But I think the end result looks pretty good. However, it was absolutely so difficult. I had to remove that thing those things like 3 or 4 times. And now I'm filling up the tiny pieces that are still open on Stacy, because Stacy is almost done. And at some point you kind of forget in a build like what you're actually doing and how weird some positions look. It's very odd, because now I have to fix that piece. And the only way to get there is to be very intimate with Stacy, which looks super weird. My colleagues, who were basically on the other side of the workshop, looked at me like I was such a pervert. However, with these last pieces in place, Stacy is actually finished. Well, there's just one more piece that needs to be added. And I understand that D is backwards, however that is intentional because that's my artist name, and that's also a very funny story. But at this point Stacy is done! You cannot understand how awesome it is to actually have a project that took multiple months be finished, and the euphoria that you feel is amazing. And the end result is 85.4 kilos! Well done, Stacy! So there are still 2 things that I need to do with Stacy. One is have her treated for the weather, because currently she's made out of, well, all types of steel and all types of metals, but most of it is just plain steel, which can rust. And I don't want Stacy to rust because look at her. Wait. Oh, okay, her eyes are just a different color. Well, I don't want her to rust, and I'm also going to polish a few bits, like for instance her eyeballs. They're currently very dark, as you can see. So it should be more light eventually, because that is, I believe, chrome, which I used. I don't quite know anymore. And she also needs to hold a phone. Now, I'm currently filming with my phone, but normally she holds my phone. But I also want to have a broken phone, just a bad one with the screen all cracked, which I can place into Stacy's hand when I'm, not placing my phone there. So yeah, those are the 2 things, but look at her! Oh, she's so damn awesome! Shit! Okay. So, with a bit of polishing, Stacy is now completely done. Finally! It took so long to make. But I still don't have a phone, actual extra phone that she can hold, because mostly she's just holding my phone, but I'm currently filming with it. So, let's just... I've got something around here. Don't judge me.
All right. And with that, it's the end of the video. Oh yay, oh yay. Well, thank you for joining me in this fantastic journey in order to create Stacy. And I can kind of think that I'm gonna do more of these projects. However, this one took literally 3 months to make. No. The next few projects are gonna be a bit more smaller and nicer and easier to make, so ooh. But I'm still gonna make more projects and weird stuff, so I hope you join me on those adventures as well. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!